are those who believe that life here began out there, far across the universe, with tribes of humans who may have been the forefathers of the Egyptians, or the Toltecs, or the Mayans. Some believe that there may yet be brothers of man who even now fight to survive somewhere beyond the heavens.
From Rochester, home of the Record Archive, the Susan B. Anthony House, and the place where Tanya got her haircut, it's FC3 Monkey Business, your one-stop shop for everything geeky. Now in Phase 3, starring Billy Vittori, that's me, Tanya Metris, President Dink, and our host, Chris Frank.
Yay, that's me. That was a good one. I liked that one.
I did
Tanya
like
got
that
a haircut.
I did. Oh my God. Colored everything. It was amazing. I was there 4 hours.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh. A 4-hour tour.
Yeah. Oh my God.
4-hour tour.
Well, I would have been out at 3 hours, but she ended up having to tone it because it was still very red and not more of a blondish for the highlights.
I'm going to take your word for it on that one.
It still has a red tinge to it. But.
All I know is for the first time in my life, I have been going out and about regularly with a ponytail in the back of my head because my hair's gotten that long.
I know your hair is long.
And then I've had several offers from quote unquote friends or members of the family. Oh, I can cut your hair. No, I don't want you. No, just no, because
Susan cut mine a few weeks ago.
And it looked very good. But you have a regular, like, normally short hair. I don't, right? So people just want to, like, go ahead and just chop my hair off.
Also, you wind up with a mohawk.
Yeah, and I'm not interested in that right now.
No, it's got to be cut properly.
I just take a clippers, and it's gone.
Yeah. That's what I did to Riker, and my dad did that to Randy, and I did that to my dad 2 weeks ago. But my dad ended up cutting Tyler's hair because Tyler wouldn't wear a mask to go and have his hair cut. So my dad is a licensed barber. So when they were over visiting, he brought his scissors and clippers and his thinning shears and things like that, and proceeded to cut Tyler's hair. So Tyler
we are
much happier.
So we are cautiously and optimistically wandering into Phase 3 at this time of our lives. And that was so funny. Like, now in Phase 3, it's almost like as seen on TV.
Yeah.
How's everybody holding up so far?
Okay, I still don't believe in Phase 3, to be honest with you. So I'm not going out and going to dinner or things like that yet. We'll see how it works out.
Well, it's a choice. So, I mean, at least it gives businesses who can, the option to move forward, and people who are more comfortable with it, but you're not forced to or anything. So it's.
I'm totally with you though, Billy, because I'm like, I've been maintaining that once everything opens, I want to wait a few weeks to see what happens, right? Because like, especially down in South where they rushed it, the caseload has just jumped dramatically with thousands upon thousands of people getting this virus right off the bat. I'm like, see, there's the proof of why you want to be cautious. But
take it easy, keep precautions going. You can do more stuff, but don't jump into it full, feet first. And
because actually Thursday I did stop at Rhino's Comics and picked up a few things with my mask and was in there for like 5 minutes while I got my stuff. But
nice. How's Chet doing anyway?
He's doing good. He's actually been because he's like a single proprietor or something, and he was the only one in there. He's been open
for
a while now, and letting a couple people in at a time if there's more than a few waiting. So he's been careful and wiping down his surfaces and all that stuff. So I stopped in and got a couple things that I had waiting for me.
Good deal. I apologize now that if my voice sounds a little off, it's just with the weather going back and forth like a pendulum lately. It's got me a little thrown off right now. So I'm still trying to warm up today. I've got my tea right? I got my Earl Grey tea with sugar and honey, so I'm trying to loosen it up a little bit. But
plus,
man,
it's still early,
it
and
is.
I know you said that you slept in this morning, so you haven't had a chance to like really get moving and motivated and stuff.
Yeah.
Dora the cat was insisting on being fed about 7 this morning, so
I gotta praise my June bug because she was actually very patient. Because when I snapped awake at about 8:30 this morning, I'm looking around, and she was still curled up at the end of the bed, and then her head popped up, and she looked at me, and she's like, "Oh, okay, now we can get going." She was. There's been a couple of times where she's like, "We gotta go," but right now today she was kind of like level and chill about it, so I was appreciative of that. So, how about you, Mr. Dan? How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Are you excited? Are you excited about today's topic?
I am excited about today's topic. So yesterday we got together. I got together with a couple of coworkers I haven't seen since March, and we had we played disc golf.
Oh, nice.
So we're together, but we're
socially distant.
We can keep it far enough apart and stuff, and it was just nice to hang out. And Churchville Park, there's nobody at Churchville Park.
If I may say it with a Tony Bacchetta kind of toner, it's golf, but with frisbees.
Yeah, so there you go.
Do they have the course set up with like the baskets or whatever?
Yeah, it's apparently it's a 19-hole whatever course, 19 basket course, whatever. But it's many tree hazards. But Churchville Park is beautiful. It's open. It's empty. There's nobody there. It was a beautiful day.
Oh, gorgeous day for a walk. Absolutely.
So it was just a nice walk out there and hang out and got to talk to some buddies I haven't seen in person in quite a while there. So it was a beautiful time there. So yeah, I was excited.
That was like your first social occasion in ages, isn't it?
Yeah, first with other adults there that not first non-virtual one. Yes.
Right.
Besides the occasional talk to a neighbor over the fence type of thing.
Hey, yo, neighbor. Wilson. Don't worry.
So yeah, it was nice. I felt they're all happy to see just to get out and everything too. So it was good. So yeah,
I can't even imagine the last time I've done any form of golf whatsoever that wasn't involving an app on my phone. I think the last time I actually swung my golf clubs was 3 years ago.
I can't do real golf. This was the closest I would go to anymore.
I've been with you when we've been. I think it was 9 holes once before, and wow, yeah, I can imagine why you'd want to go disc golf. I'm just going to say that right now.
But the last time I think the very last time I went golfing was with Brian and his family were out in 1,000 Islands. And I was so stressed out after that. I was like, I'm done. I never picked up a golf club again. That was like, I remember the last time it stressed me out so bad, and I was so frustrated, and it's like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Disc golf is just casual, no problem. I was good.
There you go. So how'd you do? How'd you hit them? What kind of score did you get?
I don't know. We didn't keep. After we all realized we didn't know what we were doing, we didn't even try keeping score. But my friend there, my boss, I guess he actually bought a couple for the fun of it, a couple real disc golf discs, and it does make a difference as far as how they it's like, oh, okay, because I had my regular frisbee, which it was a heavier weight, so it worked okay, but the disc ones are they're built differently, so it was like it made a difference throwing it and everything. So.
Well, they have drivers and like
drivers,
chippers.
Putters, mid range. They got a. I didn't know about all that.
Yeah. Actually, you can get that the disc golf stuff at Millennium.
Yes, really? You can. They have a whole corner of the building is set up for it. The building
is disc golf. Yes.
Huh.
Dan, you and I have a fellow alumni, Tony and Zana, who graduated the year before we did, who is huge into disc golf. Like, he's been in leagues and whatnot. I only know this because I see his Facebook posts about it on a regular basis. So if we ever actually want to do an actual episode about disc golf, because, it's geeky, and if you love it enough, everything's geeky. That would be the guy I would tap to bring in and have him explain to us about it. But that would actually, I think, be a cool video podcast, because then we can watch everybody play and stuff. That'd be kind of neat. So there's an idea for the future, because look how cool we are.
All right.
I'm sorry, that was just me holding over from the brainstorming episode last week.
Hey, we have to continuously brainstorm for new ideas, right?
we
Absolutely.
always do.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think John P, because I can never pronounce his last name, said it was a fun episode, a little scattered at times, but a fun episode nonetheless. So I'm like,
Just like us.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like, what's different about that compared to us on any other given day?
Yeah,
I was
pretty
going to say
much.
a little scattered. That's our regular
I
format.
know.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's where we get our
Like,
We
charm
we
from.
should-
perfected the scattered format.
It's
Maybe we
like
should call it FC3 Monkey Business. Scattered, but fun.
We have a new slogan that works. That works.
Oh my
But
goodness.
today we're gonna focus on something, aren't we?
Mhm.
And we're gonna
Damn
we're gonna
you.
do it. We're gonna do a deep dive. We haven't done one of those in a while, so we're gonna. This is the latest in our Not a Book Club series, and that is Battlestar
Dun-
Galactica.
Dun dun
Yes.
dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wait, hang on a second. I'm gonna go mute for a second because I gotta cough my brains out.
Which was especially fun for me because I've never seen either version. For
Me
real.
either.
So it was,
Okay.
and it was something I'd wanted to see. And
Mhm.
when I was a kid, when the original show came out, 78, so I was 13. For some
Right.
reason, my parents had the amazing ability of convincing me I wouldn't like something that they didn't want to watch. So because they weren't interested somewhere, no, they had, oh, you wouldn't like that. Okay. And we'd wind up watching whatever it is they'd watch. For some reason, for years, I didn't think I'd like the Planet of the Apes TV show. Surprisingly, I loved it.
Well, that was the thing. You and I and Dan and even Tanya, we grew up in an era where there were 5 channels,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
We had the networks and PBS, and then eventually Fox, UHF showed up. And cable really wasn't a thing in my household until I was like 13, 14 years old. So Ian, who the hell's on this damn
Wow.
panel today? Billy.
Billy.
Yes.
Oh my God. I haven't seen my son in a week and a half. That's why he's on my mind right now. But Billy, you were like probably 18, 19, just about.
Yeah, I think I was like 16 when
16, 17
cable showed up. Yeah.
When GRC showed up.
Yeah.
GRC.
Oh, God, that's right. Or was it something before that? Was it Rochester Cable? There was no. I think you're
Greater
right.
Rochester Cablevision, GRC.
Yeah.
And
you're
then that was bought by Time Warner, and was Time Warner for the longest time. And then, hey, now we're all on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
Sorry, I say that every time Spectrum's name comes up.
I'm only on the Spectrum for my internet. I have
Yep,
direct
same here.
So
I do internet TV, and I think we've talked about this in previous podcasts.
all the streaming stuff.
Yeah, and as soon as Greenlight shows up, I'm done with Time Warner or Spectrum or wherever the hell it is this week. So anyway, but that was a digression. Scattered, but fun.
Scattered, fun.
There you go, John.
Actually, if you're looking to get rid of cable for a streaming service, the Hulu Live and YouTube Live, you'll get all your major networks and DVR. So by half the price.
Yep.
I have to make sure that we have the Hallmark channels in our house at the moment. So.
Oh, because your mother-in-law?
Yes. That Christmas in July movies. Oh my God, they're driving me up a wall. Like
just wait till July.
I know, and they haven't even started yet. But every so often, I hear a Christmas movie playing on her TV. I'm like, really?
Oh, Jesus!
I'm like, you're killing me.
I can't. I just can't.
I have to go the other way. I'm like, no, I can't do Christmas.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I hadn't seen the series either. And I watched it Friday night with you, Chris, and I'm just like, and you're like, you wanted to tell me so many times, just watch, but I'm like asking questions or whatever.
What happens now? What happens next?
Like,
was he going to do this?
Let me guess. This, da, 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 da. And he goes, will you just watch it? He's like, spoilers.
Yeah.
You're one of those, huh, Tanya?
Oh, I was
she
like
is.
making hypotheses.
Say yes. No, Tanya, just say yes.
Yes. Yes.
What was interesting to me, and we'll get into this after the break when we dive in, right, is how well, and the reboot is obviously more modern. It's more realistic. It has more of a foothold on things that our modern society can relate to, right? So the newer version is much more likely to not pull punches. So you're going to see really brutal things happen in the new series that they would only kind of imply or brush over in the old series. And we can get into that in a little bit more because I have a whole thought pattern about that. But there was one scene in the and we won't get into it too deeply, but there was one scene in the new miniseries where something happened, and I looked over at Tanya because I knew what was going to happen, so I didn't watch the actual event. I wanted to see her reaction, and just to watch her jaw sling open and just stare at the TV for a second, like, did I just see that? Did that just happen?
Was that right at the end of the miniseries?
Just about. We'll talk more about it.
Yeah, I'm curious what it was because I just watched it yesterday.
We'll talk more about it. So because I can see we're all itching to jump in now. So what we want to do is we didn't do this format last week because we just started talking and we left it at that. So we'll have our quick break. Dan's going to do a snippet of something. He's going to throw in maybe a piece of an old dude tape or something, and or maybe you can have John Colicos do the. Or no, it's not John Colicos that does it. I can't remember the British gentleman from the Avengers who played Steed.
Patrick McNee.
Yeah, Patrick McNee. Because he's the voice of the Imperious Leader in the original series, right? So throw that in there, and then we'll jump right in.
So say we all.
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 Are they the lucky ones? That's what you're thinking, isn't it? We're a long way from home. We've jumped way beyond the red line into uncharted space. Limited supplies, limited fuel, no allies, and now, no hope. Maybe it would have been better for us to have died quickly, back on the colonies with our families, instead of dying out here slowly in the emptiness of dark space. Where shall we go? What shall we do? Life here began out there. Those are the first words of the sacred scrolls. And they were told to us by the lords of Kobol many countless centuries ago. And they made it perfectly clear that we are not alone in this universe. Elosha, there is a 13th colony of humankind, is there not?
Yes. The scrolls tell us a 13th tribe left Kobol in the early days. They traveled far and made their home upon a planet called Earth, which circled a distant and unknown star.
It's not unknown. I know where it is. Earth. The most guarded secret we have. The location was only known by the senior commanders of the fleet. And we dared not share it with the public. Not while there was a Cylon threat upon us. For now, we have a refuge to go to. A refuge that the Cylons know nothing about. It won't be an easy journey. It'll be long and arduous. But I promise you one thing. On the memory of those lying here before you, we shall find it. And Earth will become our new home. So say we all.
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 Dismissed.
This is fun.
Oh, everything about my phone, my landline that's coming in. I don't know
Because
what.
you have a landline.
I
Are
do
we
have a
recording right now?
landline.
Because this is
Yes,
important.
we are.
We are
Yeah.
This is
recording
for
right now.
posterity.
Jump
We came
in.
back from break. We came back from break, and Tanya's landline was ringing. Landline. Welcome to the 21st century, where people still have phones on walls.
Do you have a modem also? A 14.4 modem?
I have a flip phone,
That's amazing.
but no landline.
Yeah, well,
You know,
we have a
okay,
landline that I would love to get rid of, but
Mhm.
other people in my house want to keep it, but I'm the one that pays the bill, so
maybe
I
you should
really,
maybe you should get a modem, a dial-up modem, just in case, because since you had all those internet problems.
no freaking
Oh
kidding.
yeah, I want to see you play Warcraft at 15.4 or 14.4. Excuse me.
14.4.
Well, no,
56K if you get the one, the newer one.
Oh yeah.
it's funny because I'm pretty good with like now with my internet and playing Warcraft.
hmm
Every time when playing Warcraft and Sean's on, BattleNet kicks him off. It won't kick the internet doesn't kick him off.
BattleNet.
BattleNet kicks him off because he's on Discord also with me.
Uh-huh.
So if the internet kicked him off, it would kick him off Discord also. But
Right.
nope, it's just BattleNet that kicks him off. BattleNet doesn't like him. So
Well, I don't like him either, so it all works out. No, I'm kidding.
oh,
Oh.
I'm kidding.
we love Sean.
So, all right. So, I actually, when I was little, and Galactica was a huge thing in the 70s and early 80s for its one season. It was 2 seasons, but we're not going to talk about the second season, right?
Well, it's not really the second. It was
A spin-off.
we that's not counted as we don't count that as a second season.
Okay. What do you, now because you're the diehard fan, so you are to Battlestar Galactica as I am to Doctor Who, right? As Billy is to good music, as Tanya is to Amazon shopping. So let me pick your brain for trivia, because when we know we're going to go deep diving into a particular thing, I will try to absorb trivia, but I actually consciously made a decision not to do it
Oh, I
because
know.
I wanted to hear what you had to say about it. That was so.
Oh boy.
So
But
take me home on this one.
But I did pull up the IMDb thing, so I can click to the trivia of it.
Uh huh.
Oh, it's trivia.
There is trivia.
So
Okay.
Battlestar Galactica only lasted one season.
Right.
All right. And was it just a ratings issue? It just wasn't picking up, or
It was a cost thing.
It was a cost.
And it ended up being. I mean, ultimately it'd be ratings because of where it was going against All in the Family at the time.
boy?
I was going to
yeah.
ask you, it was on Sunday nights, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And it was against All in the Family, and All in the Family averaged more than 40% of the audience. Against Galactus, 28%.
Okay.
Plus, it was an expensive show.
Well, for 1978, 79, the special effects were actually quite decent. I mean,
Mhm.
we look at them as cheesy, and probably looked at them as cheesy back at the day, but for that era, for TV, I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't Star Wars caliber, but it was up there.
The pilot was $8 million. It's the most expensive at the time.
Yeah, which is huge for
Yeah,
that era.
for that time. So yeah, I mean it was, but this might sound kind of familiar, like the Firefly, but during this pilot premiere and on ABC, 2/3 of the way through the broadcast, ABC interrupted with a special report of the signing of the Camp David Accords at the White House.
Oh wow!
I was going to bring that up. I'd read that on Wikipedia because I wanted to do a little research and saw that and go, how does any show have a chance when that happens?
Right.
2/3 of the way show. Then like an hour and a half later, you go in for the last third of the show.
Yeah, I mean, people. I wonder how many people didn't see the end of that because
Right.
they're not going to sit through it. I mean,
hmm
and
Now,
back
Dan,
then there wasn't many options to do something different.
No, you had your 3 networks and PBS.
Where'd you get the information about its budget? Because I'm on IMDb, and its budget was $750,000.
No, I saw it on
So-
Wikipedia. It's like wasn't it 7 million?
It's $8 million. Yeah, $8 million
Okay.
at the time. The pilot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was a $750 per episode type of a thing.
That was basically with the movie, and it was $8 million. The movie that they released, the theatrical version.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Well, because I'm on actually just not the movie. I'm with the TV show. So it's the season, the episodes, the season 1979, 1978 on IMDb says it's 750,000.
I don't know.
So that's I'm like trying to figure. And they said estimated, and so estimated 750,000 is way lower than 8 million.
Yeah,
I don't know where they're getting that from then.
like 10 times less.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, huh.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
So Dan, why is this a thing for you? Why did Battlestar Galactica sink in? It's because it's been your like jam forever.
I mean, it might have been just a timing thing. I mean, just because I was at that age, and it, what, 8 years old when it came out, 8, 9 years old, and maybe it probably was just a lot of a timing thing. I was at that right age. It hit those right spots. It hit the right and
the right notes.
And it just stuck with me all these years. And I loved the ships. I mean, I loved the battles. I loved the Galactica. I loved the Vipers. It just it started that dreaming in me. Like, what if, can I have a Viper sitting right next to me here, a little tiny one right now, but
nice. I had the toy at one point. I remember I had the toy with the spring-loaded missile in the nose cone, and the little minifigure.
I have pieces of it left. I don't have I lost the actual part over the years, but but yeah, I had that too. Yeah, I played with it till it was no more.
Now, was this on the same level as Star Wars for you? Because the original Star Wars, Episode 4, New Hope, whatever the hell you want to call it this week, was a year before. I mean, it was in 77 was when the Star Wars franchise began effectively, and so here we are 1 year later, capitalizing on that and telling a different story, but kind of a similar vibe to it. Do you feel like one led to the other, or were they kind of like just doing the same thing?
I mean, they're different. I mean, I love Star Wars too. And I don't know. I mean, it just might have been, maybe Star Wars warmed me up, and then Battlestar just sort of hit a home run for me or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just Battlestar. I just love. I love the ship. I love the stories, and I was just sad it was only one season. And for me and all the other Battlestar fans, we live in that one season type of thing for the the original episode there.
Yeah,
the original series there. So.
What was the story? Because I know there's Galactica 1980, so that was not a second season, or was it?
It wasn't the second season. It was kind of trying to revive it.
Okay.
Because they made the major jump to the end of the first season. They're way out, they're in the middle of nowhere, and then Galactica 1980, they're suddenly at Earth. And they have all these, it's much later in time. You got, some of the characters have grown up. There's other ones have disappeared. There's, it's a whole different ship. They got this one kid who's got these weird powers. These Vipers that can turn invisible, and it was just a bizarre continuation of the story.
Okay.
And I think that's what it was, just so out there for everybody. And it was just, why are we suddenly on Earth? What happened to the everything else? What happened to the ragtag fleet and everything? And
right.
It was just bizarre. And they tried to fill it in.
The continuity, I was going to ask the continuity, like that season doesn't count, the 1980 from what I've read. Like people don't even acknowledge it exists, like in terms of books.
People will watch it just because there's one episode in there.
The Starbuck episode?
The Starbuck episode. Yeah, it's pretty much like the one.
Starbuck.
Yes. And that's pretty much the one that's, because it's really going back in time, and it features Starbuck, and it's all about Starbuck and a Cylon. And but that's there's a little bit before and after talk when the quote unquote present day for the series and everything, but that's the one that I think people are gonna refer to the most in that whole debacle there of Galactica 1980.
And I find it interesting, and this is where we're gonna here's where we do our usual. Guess what, kids? If you have not watched the series, this is where we warn you. There's gonna be some spoilers. A new fragrance by the Mighty Monkey Corporation. Smell like it's coming next. All right.
Under the Scattered Corporation.
Right. Scattered, but fun.
But fun.
There is a whole kind of sequence of story where in the new series Starbuck disappears and then comes back, and there's this whole mystical quality to it. So I think that's that whole throwback to the Galactica 1980 episode that Dan is referring to, the Starbuck episode.
Maybe you could kind of equate it to that.
I think it's their tribute to that plot line, really.
Starbuck didn't come back in that episode, though.
Okay.
In the 1980 series, he didn't come back.
Oh, he was just referred to, or
he was. I mean, the whole. I mean, there's a whole story. He's crash lands on a planet. He's with a Cylon, and then there's this mysterious woman who shows up with a child.
Okay.
And he eventually, they're able to scrape together whatever, parts from the two ships, and they make a kind of an escape pod. And the child is the only they send the child back to the fleet, basically. Starbuck stays on the planet.
Isn't that the episode that where he wore like everything was all in white?
No,
it's like tan.
Well, the white. Are you talking about the white where he's on the god ship there, or whatever?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah,
I'm getting all mixed up on that one. Then it just felt to me that the whole plot line in the new series was kind of a throwback nod to that one, because what I've noticed is there are consistencies in the vibe, in the theme. It's the presentation is where things get different.
Yes.
Where there'd been this long war. In the new series, the war had been over for a long time, but in the old series, the whole surprise event was the coming to the end of this lengthy war. Right.
Yeah, I mean, the whole origin of the Cylons was different.
Yeah, where the Cylon, I remember even watching it in one of the episodes, one of the original series episodes I watched last night, that Adama makes reference to the fact that the Cylons were creations of a race called the Cylons from another planet entirely. And that's another thing. The old series dabbles with aliens and whatnot. There is a little Star Trek vibe going on there, but there's nothing indicating that at all in the new series. It's like aliens don't exist. It's like they kind of deny that they actually exist. Like anything from outside the colonies was just, holdovers from the colonies almost. Right. So that was kind of an interesting little tidbit. When I went back and I saw the singers with the multiple faces, I'm like,
yes.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Like, wait a second here.
The Supremes times 3.
With the lower, with the lower range that can break glasses there, yeah.
Right.
A question. I was looking as I was doing research, saw that the creator of the original series was sort of big into the Mormon church, and that there were sort of Mormon philosophies.
There was a lot of religious overtones.
See, I've sort of got a religious vibe from it, but because I'm not a religious person, I didn't know exactly what those
the overtones,
what I was looking for. Yeah.
There's a lot more spiritual in the original, I think.
I mean, they touch on it a lot of in the new series too. They talk about religion and they talk about whatnot, but it's not. Yeah, but I don't think it's as prevalent or as an undercurrent in the new series as it is in the old.
But I was wondering specifically about the Mormon stuff as opposed to Christianity or Judaism in general. Are any of you familiar with Mormonism enough to point out this compares to?
I know I'm not. Honestly, and if I try to make reference to it, I'm going to be upfront about it. If I make reference to it, it's going to end up being very tongue in cheek because of my opinion of religion to begin with. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to hazard a guess. Is it Mormon or Scientology that has the whole something? The creators are from the outer world or whatever the thing. I can't remember.
Exactly. I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry I brought it. I was just curious.
No, but it's valid though, because it is something that is very prevalent. I mean, if you look at the imagery in terms of costuming in the original series from the 70s, the old series, if you look at the way they talk to each other, the way they interact with each other, and like I said, the costuming, there is a much more ceremonial type of an aspect to it. Like even at one point, Tanya's looking at me and she goes, is he supposed to be like the Pope when he's talking about the president, the commander of the Atlantia in the original series, and yeah, it's funny, but that's the figurehead that image is supposed to be portraying at the moment, right? That's that. And the Council of 12 are wow, especially in these current times in 2020, and everything we're dealing with sociologically speaking, you have old white men in flowing robes and talking very poetically and prosaically to each other. It's like, wow, this is not a government. This really is a high council of a religion. It almost feels like, but instead of having their respective dioceses or churches or whatnot, their churches are these battle stars, so
they're and they represented the planets. I mean, at
yeah,
the time,
and that's the thing is
the 12 planets.
yeah. And how 12 ships managed to hold off an entire race, I don't know, but hey, there you have it. So
and speaking of costuming, the idea of having a chimpanzee and a dog costume and a robot costume may be one of the most brilliant things ever. I got to tell you, that's stuck in my head. Since I watched it, I loved it. I love the idea of putting a monkey in a dog costume.
And that monkey hung in there. Did a really good job with the part. I think it was one of the best acting pieces I'd seen in a long time. So
yeah, it was just bizarre. I mean, all that stuff, all the imagery, all the different. I mean, some of the differences between the original and the new. The fact that Adamo in the original was the president as well as the commander.
Yeah, he was effectively the leader of that ragtag fugitive fleet. Everybody looked to Adama for everything. There was a council on the side, but they kind of like became less and less of a component as the season went on. I'd noticed.
Yes.
Especially after that casino episode in the early sequence there.
And their big mix up there, yeah.
Yeah. So it really did. But in the new series, they did really make the political and the military side-by-side aspect a thing, where you introduce it's amazing how you introduce one character and it can change the entire series, right? So you have your Adama in the new series, but now you have Laura Roslin come in and it creates this whole new dynamic that rolled all the way through the new series. Was it 4 seasons or 5? It was 4 seasons.
4, yeah.
The 4 seasons. And there's our throwback to the two-faced singers. All right. Anyway, so now I guess as we try to look at how this is all grounded together, where the foundations of both of the series are. Where was I? I had a thought.
You got derailed.
I got derailed. Scattered but fun.
Well, because it's funny because when I was starting watching it, I was looking at the similarities because, as you said, it came out like right after Star Wars, and I was looking at the similarities of like the religious overtones of like the president being very Pope-like in his robes and things like that. But then I'm just like. When I looked at the Vipers, I'm like, they have a distinct look of the Imperial shuttles from Star Wars.
With the 3 fins, yeah.
With the 3 fins, I was starting to like pick up on just some similarities. And so when I'm hopping over to Wikipedia, Lucas did go after the Galactica merchandise.
Oh, did he really?
Yes, claiming that the Cylon Raider and the Colonial Viper toys could be confused with his own Star Wars toys. So, and it was funny because when I was watching the TV series, not knowing a lot, but knowing Star Wars, I'm just like, wait. And then when I looked at the Cylon Raider when we were watching the miniseries, I'm like, is that like a Klingon bird of prey or a Romulan or whatever? I'm just like, wait.
You were looking for analogies throughout the whole thing when we were watching the new series, the miniseries from 2003.
So I'm just like, I'm just picking up not analogies but similarities. I think that was whatever. I'm like, okay, they kind of drew some of their idea design from this type thing, but it was just very strange because it was definitely probably influenced by the other sci-fi shows and movies and stuff of the time.
That's fair.
And there weren't a lot at the time,
right?
So
that's also fair. Yeah.
I mean, even looking at the original Cylons, they looked cross
Stormtrooperish.
between stormtroopers and cyborgs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just looking at that, except for they were very,
So
very
stormtroopers were
shiny.
shinier.
Shinier.
Yeah.
They're shinier than stormtroopers. And I think they could hit better. Their aim was better.
Yeah, they actually
Just
got a
one
couple.
red eye, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just me like looking at like nitty gritty stuff, and I'm like, okay, just watch the show for the story. Stop picking out minor details.
Now, as I was watching the miniseries, the first thing I thought of, okay, Rick Springfield doesn't make it through this episode because I
didn't
never
even know
heard.
it was Rick Springfield.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it was Rick
you never heard that Rick Springfield starred in Battlestar Galactica. So when he's the brother, you go, okay, he's gonna die. And so, and I've also never heard Jane Seymour referred to as a cast member of Battlestar Galactica. So I'm assuming she didn't die by the end of the pilot. She didn't die by the end of the miniseries. I'm guessing she dies early though.
Yeah, she does. Because she didn't want to stay on for whatever reason.
So Boxy becomes an orphan.
Basically, in the next episode, the lost planets of the gods, she doesn't make it through there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Do you think Boxy was a necessary addition? He was sort of the Will Wheaton of the show, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, he comes into play in a lot of it. Him and Moffat come into play in a lot of the episodes. So I mean, and it's funny because in the new series, there, Boxy makes an appearance, but then he kind of disappears.
Oh, okay.
Because Boxy's the kid from that they rescue from Africa.
Yeah. He's the cameo during the miniseries, but he doesn't make it to the regular series.
Yeah, so it's just kind of they're not sure where they're going to go from the miniseries when they started the, because of what I think there was a year or more gap between the miniseries and when they actually started, did the whole series because they weren't sure,
if it was going to take or not.
Right. So and he actually does. I just watched. He does make another brief appearance in the series, but he's not any kind of. He disappears after that. So, but Boxy and Moffat were kind of important in the main series. They come.
He was sort of the wish fulfillment for kids character, or
he's the connection. He's the one who draws the kids in. Like Wesley was meant to be for Next Generation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the guys who never saw it before, you liked it so far?
I have, yes. I like both the original and the miniseries. I mean, and the newer one, the 2004 series.
Well, I only watched.
Go ahead, Don.
The first episode of the original one, but I've seen bits and pieces of the original one when it's been shown here in the house. After watching the miniseries, I'm just like, no, damn it! Now I need to find out what happens. Damn you! And Billy thought I was mad at his cat Daniel, but I was mad at you, Daniel, because then I proceeded to have to watch whatever, and I know we have the first season because I watched the first 5 episodes, and they're on like 6 discs.
Mm-hmm.
We have. And we also have what's called The Plan.
Yep, that's kind of a prequel to it. Yep.
Yeah, you watch The Plan after you've watched the series because it gives you it gives you that look back insight.
Yeah. So I was like trying to figure out which disc, and he's like, Randy was handing me all 6 discs, and I'm like, I had to flip over to the back to figure out disc 1, disc 2, which ones I'd seen, and basically disc 1 is like the entire miniseries. It's on one disc, and then so I watched disc 2 yesterday, and I started disc 3, and Billy and I landed at the same spot.
Yeah,
and
well, good.
That was the one. So I'll probably watch some more later. Now I need to know what happens. So.
And I think that's what I like about the new series is it does delve in deeper on stuff. It is modern, right? So you take away the 1970s sensibilities of television and you tell a story. Like I said, there are several earlier. There are several moments in the new series that they will not pull punches. If it looks like something's going to happen, then it's probably going to happen. They want to hit you with the shock value. They want to take social issues. This was a great series for social commentary,
Oh my
right?
gosh, yeah.
And making you think about stuff and making you look at things from different angles and forcing you. Oh, am I still here? Hello. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Yep, you're still here.
And forcing you to stop and think about stuff for a minute. Now, in my opinion, the new series gets weird and a little off track during season 3 and most of season 4. It kind of like wanders around a little bit, like they ran out of ideas. They had a plan to get to something at the end of season 4, but they forgot how they were going to do it. Is basically the feeling I get from season 3 and early 4. But then it comes back strong and ends well, and I was very satisfied with the series conclusion at the end of season 4 of the new series. But
I was in tears at the end. I was at tears at the end of the series. I was wanting to know that.
Oh yeah. See, and here's the thing: is I know we've already given the spoiler warning, and I want to go ahead and talk about that, but I know that Tanya and Billy have not seen it. So
I'm
let's
fine with
we'll start at the beginning.
I'll say, when does that happen? Well, you'll get to it. When does that happen? No, you'll get to it. So
yes,
I'll get to it.
I've had 15 years to watch it, so.
But
yeah,
anyway,
I mean, the social commentaries happen, soon, especially when Richard Hatch gets in there, Tom Zarek, the character gets in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That really brings in a quite a foil for Laura Roslin there to
whole different dynamic.
Like, okay, we need elections now. We need to make this a real government. We need to it's like, whoa, yeah, okay, that's. We're not just a ragtag fleet. In the original, it was all about it was all about
holding things together.
Yeah, the Galactica and Adama, the warriors doing their thing, and the fleet was out there. It came into play, but it wasn't really, it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And the new series really brings in the rest of the the fleet there, and it said the human aspect of it more.
Mm-hmm.
For everybody versus just the the few main characters there type of thing. So it was really expanded and everything. And like you said, they get into everything.
And the human Cylons in the new series, that's just a stroke of genius to have that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh!
And that's what kind of blew my mind with certain things in regards to the human Cylons, and it was towards the end of the miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like pointing TV. No,
yeah.
With Boomer, but I'm like,
and then you find out who the other Cylons are as they introduce characters and then they make reveals and whatnot. As you will by the end of the series know all 12 models of Cylon, right? And there are times where you're like, wait, what? Really? So that's a thing.
Yeah, it is. And when they first introduced the human on the station there, the supermodel. When they first made contact after 50 years of silence, and just the way that they do that, it's like, oh my gosh, the robots walk in first, the new robots walk in first, not the old ones, which they did make the the throwback to the old ones in the museum of the Galactica there.
Yeah. I think
but then
they make a cameo in the new series. I think somewhere along the line in season 2 or 3. They come across like a collection of them or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
There's something later on, but but I liked in the first in the mini series they kind of did a lot of references to the original series, and kind of, even if they just talked about it and it's gone, but it's just sort of that connection there type of thing.
Like Rosalind calling Lee Captain Apollo at one point, and he's like, Apollo's just my call sign. She goes, yeah, but Captain Apollo has such a lovely ring to it, doesn't it? That exchange gave me a grin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like they did that, and they only really did that in the miniseries. After that, it's just more, they moved on.
Yes.
So it was kind of, and it worked well for that. I liked how they did that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like when the Cylons first made contact in with the Cylons, it's just so, oh my gosh, Trisha Helfer there, she's like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
She's just,
She's
And you
really
want to
Remember
talk
she,
about an actress who has aged well. Trisha Helfer doesn't look any different now than she did in 2003. I mean, that
Oh, I
woman,
know.
and she's an
She,
amazing actress. She's a lot of fun to watch on screen because she
Mhm.
has this level of confidence, that, and you see it in her portrayal of Six throughout the course of the series. That she has a level of confidence as an actress,
Well,
and
to play what she does, she plays the the invisible thing. Baltar's invisible
yeah,
companion there, basically,
right.
and to play like that in front of every. I mean, just oh my gosh, I can't
I,
imagine the sets.
oh,
You know,
I was telling Chris, I'm like, I don't know how they could keep a straight face during certain times
oh my gosh.
of her being there in just
Well, I was
the
telling Tanya that I caught an outtake. There's a blooper reel of a few seasons of Battlestar Galactica wandering around, and there was one where it's Gaius and I'm pretty sure it's Gata on the bridge of the Galactica, and they're having this conversation back and forth, and Six is supposed to be in Gaius's head, in Baltar's head, and
Hmm.
she goes around behind Gata and starts. And she just jams her tongue in his ear, and then all of a sudden he turns and starts making out with her, and the guy who's playing Baltar, I cannot think of his name at the moment, but he's just trying with a straight face, just trying to get through his lines, and then they just all crack up, and and that's it. The whole scene falls apart at that point. But I'm just watching little shit like that, going, there has to be lots of that, where especially when she's supposed to be the vision in his head, and
Hmm.
everybody's supposed to be ignoring her, but she's playing it so out there. She's right on the edge of what the hell is going on. And you got to imagine being the other person in that scene going, I'm not supposed to be able to see this, but here it is happening in front of me, right?
Right. No, they got to play two different things, because they got the conversation stuff going on in Baltar's head, and then they don't see it really, but they do. It is like, oh my,
Yeah.
that's
And then and this may be a spoiler. I know I talked to Tanya about it a little bit the other night when we were watching it, but Billy, this is going to be a bit of a spoiler for you. But
okay.
comes a point where you find out that Trisha Helfer's character, she's called Six, right? She's the number 6 model, and her soul did get sent into a new body after it was destroyed on Caprica during the bombings. So what happened is that you have two versions of Six start to form. You have the one that's in Baltar's head, the constant seductress, the devil on his shoulder. And then you have the Six who gets sent back and gets a body with all of those memories of all those things that Six did while she was on Caprica, getting ready for the moment. And then as she is the character that has a story arc, she evolves, and you see this almost like a level of compassion arrive in her.
Hmm.
And so you have these two different characters arise. And where was I going with this? I had a thought in my head. But it kind of tied in with the whole dynamic of Trisha Helfer's ability as an actress. And then different Sixes pop up along the way, and they start to revere what they eventually call Caprica Six. Like she stands out among the Sixes, and so she becomes kind of a figure among them. So it became this whole dynamic. She plays a cult to her own character. It's very strange to watch it all in action.
Well,
But it's
and that's
such
just
a
bizarre
dynamic.
for the Cylons in general, is that they don't, they got this 12 models, and they're not really, well, not the 12, but the
Mhm.
ones that are in most of the show they're not agreed.
Yes.
Yeah,
They all have
and
different functions and different outlooks and different views on things. They were given different base personalities, and those personalities kind of become evolutionary off of each other. It's very strange. It's very cool though. I like the dynamic a lot.
it makes a very, versus the original series, that Silence is all, eradicate the humans, and
Yes.
this one is just like they're just, the humans are their parents. They said in one episode, that they're
Yes,
our
the humans
parents
create the
type of thing.
Cylons in the new series. Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
So
I just saw that
it's
quote.
a much different dynamic there in the new one versus the old one, where the Cylons were just a race, an alien race that, the robotic Cylons were created by this alien race to eradicate humans, type of thing.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
quote that Six says, "We're the children of humanity. That makes them our parents in a sense." Aaron
Mhm.
Doral says, "True, but parents have to die. It's the only way children can come into their own."
yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many great things like that, and I mean, that's why I love the new series. I mean, I love both of them. I love them both in different ways.
Now,
You know.
Yeah,
one
they
thing
really
I'm
Go ahead,
sorry, go
Billy.
on, Chris. No, go on, Chris, because
No, the only thing I was going to say is how there really are some fundamental core values between the two shows, but they do things in such different ways. So you can definitely get an appeal off of both. Go ahead, Billy.
Well, the original series obviously had the 70s vibe. You couldn't do even not just special effects, but in terms of acting and storylines and scripts, you couldn't do what you can do. And but that was the style. It was almost like a team of space or something.
Well, we did have Dirk Benedict there,
yeah,
so.
exactly.
Funny you should bring that up.
Yeah. The other thing is that Dan, you're a fan, and I may visit this. There's a podcast hosted by Mark Bernardin, who I know through Kevin Smith stuff, and Trisha Helfer. They have Battlestar Galacticast, and they do like an episode by episode rewatch of the newer series and discuss each episode. Like each week is like an episode, so you may want to check that out.
I definitely have to look at that.
So look up Battlestar Galacticast.
Nice.
Yeah, you made the reference to A-Team. I remember that one scene in the early episodes of A-Team where Dirk Benedict is standing there smoking a cigar and a Cylon walks by him and he looks at it and goes like that, hey, wait a second, kind of look in his eye, and then it goes on, and that's the old drop in. I remember that. So with the fact that the new series has 4 seasons and the old series has 1, obviously they were able to tell more story and have more of a beginning, middle, end in the new series. I can't remember in the old series, do they actually find Earth, or is it just it was the end of season 1 and they got canceled? Okay.
They didn't find Earth. There was actually a radio broadcast of reaching the moon. Abroad, they didn't actually see it, but they're up in this observation dome on the Galactica, and a bunch of them, and then they leave, but they left the TV on, whatever, and it shows, they get close, and they kind of seem, it hints they get closer, they get some ideas, so it's kind of they always get those near misses.
Like this is where it would have gone if we'd been able to continue making it.
Yeah, I mean they come across there's a whole bunch of other human. They come across a lot of other human settlements in the original series.
I also go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, it finished. It's just a thought popped into my head.
I think that's how they kind of kept a lot of it going. Is just they came across this other, there's a bootleggers thing. They got this colony that was out there that just created ambrosia for hundreds of years, and other random human colonies that are out there and stuff like that. And that's kind of it's much different.
I also liked and like I said, we can tie into today's conversation right now about diversity. To me, the Battlestar Galactica of old, the original series, really did a lot for diversity and for just kind of trying to include. I mean, it wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't dramatic, and it wasn't as probably prevalent as we would have liked it to be looking back at 1978, right? But it was still
but
really
for the time,
for the time, I think it was a
for
great
the time
step
it was
forward.
good. I mean, they had Colonel Ty was second in command,
African-American,
yeah, and Boomer was African American. So they were main-ish characters. They weren't the main characters, but they were up there.
They were treated like they belonged there. There was never like, oh, you're the token guy or anything like that. No, you were part of the team, and men and women both serving leadership roles.
The women weren't so much. I mean, the whole episode with the female pilots. I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember that one, to be honest.
So there was one episode because all the pilots were male, but at one point someone brought a disease back and infected most of the pilots, and what were left were they needed more pilots, and females were left. So it was a whole episode about the female pilots, bringing them in. So it was, I guess they did bring them in later, but it wasn't. I mean, it was a big thing. It was like because there weren't any. So they didn't make them female pilots.
Okay.
And I think some of them might have stuck around, but they kind of faded out after that episode. They were there and then gone, type of thing.
All right, but still, that's a lot further than some places.
Yeah, and and they had
they weren't treating it as a laugh line. They were treating it as this is a social issue and we want to tackle it.
Yeah, and they had Athena, the sister, which doesn't they didn't bring in the new series.
Yeah.
But she was a bridge officer type of thing. She was a pilot, became a pilot too, but she was more of a bridge officer, like a Uhura type of position type of thing.
Yeah.
So it was. And they did bring some in, but for the time it wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
So it was.
Hey,
At least they tried.
When the show came back in 2003, 2004, was there any sort of like nerd outrage about Starbuck being a woman or
Of
Bumble
course
being
there
a
was.
woman?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay, I was curious because
Yeah,
I thought it was I really liked that character. I like Katie Sackhoff as
Yeah.
Starbuck, and I was wondering, were people mad about that?
I mean, it's the same kind of thing with the female doctor. I mean, people did not like change and that kind of thing, and there was a whole bunch of outrage, and they definitely, her and Boomer, changing genders type of thing. But I think they all did. I mean, it was great. I mean, if you've seen the episode, you've seen the series, you can't really complain about what they did to the characters. I mean, it's just they. I mean, Katie Sackhoff, I mean, she embodied a lot of the original Starbuck.
Oh yeah,
and there's the famous picture going around of Starbuck and Starbucks.
Oh right, they're both smoking cigars side by side with each other.
In Starbuck, Katie and Dirk Benedict in Starbuck, yeah. But she kept the cigar smoking that that Dirk Benedict did in the original series and this and that and the Hot Shot pilot and but she there was definitely people did not like it when they came out. But but it's like let's
and even years later, after she did the job and did a great job with it, and I thought she made a wonderful character, there are still people who to this day say that should never have happened. And so I like it when they step up, because then those are the guys I can just easily ignore, right?
Right.
Because I know where your mindset is. Just go away. I don't want to talk to you.
It's. I mean, this was a reimagining of the series. It wasn't. We're not continuing the old one, so they can do that, and they said the whole series was just phenomenal. I thought they just. Yes, I guess like you said, in some series there was some weird parts that got in the middle, which happens with a lot of shows and everything. But it was. I thought they did a great job with it. So yeah.
And Lauren Green is the original Adama. You had this classic patriarchal figure with this strong presence, and then he yields the floor to, in the new series, Edward James Olmos.
I know.
To be Adama. What an amazing stroke of genius that casting was, because that man is just freaking amazing. And what he did with the character was it was legend. It was absolutely legend. What a great turn that was.
Yeah, they did a good job in casting. They got 2 Academy Award nominees to play the 2 leads, and Mary McDonnell and Edward James Olmos.
Yeah, and that was just amazing. The chemistry was amazing between them, and just they worked well. I mean, everyone. Yeah, I mean they. Oh, I don't even have to say. It's just. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot. There's so much good. I mean, we can talk about, when it comes to the new series, we can talk about, especially when Tanya and Billy, when they catch up and get through the series, we can talk about how things kind of got a little weird, little light in season 3, early 4, like I was talking about earlier. But there's so many good things that came of that series. And now I guess I'm hearing there's a new project.
They've been talking about it for years, and it based on a recent article, it seems like there's maybe more traction for it. It's not going to be. It sounds like it's going to be in that possibly in that world, but in that
but
mythos,
a different
but
story.
It's not. But yeah, so I'm not quite sure. It's just they've been talking about it for years, so I don't know what's actually going to happen. So we'll see. But I'm not holding my breath at this point. But if something does happen, I'll be excited. I mean, they also had the Blood and Chrome. You said you talked about the plan. They had then there's also Caprica, which happened way prequel.
It was like 50, 60 years before the series was supposed to commence. So there was a lot of spin-off territory.
Young Adama.
Yeah. You see a lot of spin-off coming from the new series.
It's just I mean, there's potential.
Here's a dumb question, because I really don't know the answer. Is that Stargate show part of this world, or is that completely different? Okay.
Completely different. Stargate.
Okay, I didn't know, because I knew Caprica was once I heard the name. So maybe Stargate is part of this too.
Well, I tell you what, that's going to be for a good future podcast, because I've actually delved back into Stargate SG-1 series recently, and I've watched through it before. I've enjoyed that series. The original movie with Kurt Russell and James Spader is what spawned that whole franchise, and I'd love to do a deep dive on all that stuff soon, because there's a lot of fun to be had there as well. But no, they are two separate entities.
Okay. I just didn't hit a Wikipedia on that, so I didn't know.
Hey, that's why you asked, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here for. So that's cool. Is there anything else we want to talk about for now? I mean, other than just encourage people to watch this thing if you haven't already, or if you have in the past, watch it again, especially because, like I said, it touches on so many different social issues, especially ones that we are talking about right now in our current society. So definitely I would recommend giving it a watch through just for that alone. And the special effects I thought were really good for an early 2000 series. I thought they were fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The space combat has a better feel for it, more realistic than a lot of others.
They use more bullets versus laser guns type of thing. And
ballistic and railgun weaponry and stuff like that. Let's close this conversation off with that. Let's talk about because we hinted a little bit last week when we were talking about spaceships, the differences between the 78 Galactica and the 2003 Galactica. I get the feeling that the newer one is bigger. It's beefier. It's got more of a presence as a warship, in my opinion.
And it's one of the smaller Battlestars from the of the new ones, because that was about ready to be retired.
Right, then when they get that whole sequence with the Pegasus, it's like you see the Pegasus, this monster
modern one, or quote unquote modern one, versus because the Galactica, they kept very because of the whole Cylon stuff, they kept it very old school as far as no network computers and everything, and then you get the Pegasus comes in. It's like, whoa.
Yes. At one point, I remember it was great when Admiral Kane in the new series, Admiral Kane and Adama are they're being taken to the principal's office, and Laura Roslind's going after the both of them to calm down, because there's been this dick waving contest between the two characters, and at one point, Admiral Kane, which was basically a brilliant turn by actress Michelle Forbes,
oh my gosh,
she says something to the effect of like, if we ever went head to head, the Galactica was at a disadvantage, and Adama doesn't say, he just gives her a side glance, goes, I wouldn't bet on that, and that was it. That was the only thing he said the entire time. But it was basically like, no, I'll kick your ass.
Oh my god,
it was just an interesting sequence of stuff going on there.
So just a little side note for that, because they also, they did the Pegasus, it came back in the original one also. It was a much different vibe there.
Oh yeah,
because
Lloyd Bridges as the legendary Commander Kane.
Yes, and that brought in his daughter. Ended up staying with they left in different ways. It was just
yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But seeing another Battlestar in the picture is just so exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, when they meet in the original series, when they meet meet the Pegasus, it's like, meet the Robinsons, meet the Pegasus. It was a definitely much different dynamic with the Kanes there. But yeah, it was just
very cool stuff. I also like the fact that in the newer, we'll talk structural speaking on the ships themselves. In the newer series, Galactica's bridge, the CNC, was more in the heart, deep down under, in the belly of the ship, where it was more protected, more secure, as opposed to being up front and on top, like almost like a Star Trek ship, right?
Yep.
So there was a lot of negative shield, positive shield, negative shield, positive shield. They kept having to close the freaking window to make sure they didn't get their asses kicked, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, it was like, okay, that makes a lot more. There was a lot more almost conventional wisdom within the newer series in terms of their ship
but also
structure.
The technology was so much different. I mean, if you look, I mean, the whole view screens and things like that. That if you looked at the consoles in the original series, you got the big giant monitors type of thing, everything.
Yeah.
Versus the things in the new series is it's going to be more it's more modern and everything. So yeah, I can. It's definitely just signs of the times and everything.
And they had landlines also.
That's right.
Well, yes, they did.
But here's the thing: is Adama didn't get telemarketer calls.
No, he just got a lot of calls that he wanted to refuse.
Right.
No.
Yes.
Well, how can you have a phone number when you're the only phone?
Well, there's that. What's your phone number? 1.
Oh, but yeah, I mean the ships were. I mean there was the new Battlestar, the new Galactica was a lot more armor on it, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
When the
Yeah,
old one had a lot more nooks and crannies, type, a lot more bumps and ridges around it to kind of make it. So it was, yeah. I mean,
the
that made it
diehard
just
model
look
makers,
different.
the diehard model makers call those greeblies for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know where the word came from. Greeblies. Yes, there's a lot more greeblies on the older Galactica than there is on the newer one. The newer one is basically an armor-plated beastie.
Yeah.
So,
I'm on Facebook. I'm in one of the Battlestar model maker groups, just because I just love seeing what people are coming up with, and just people making the studio scale Galacticas, and these ones that are 5-6 feet long, and that are just the detail they have in there and everything, and all the just to match up to the the stuff. And also there's some of the original model makers are on these groups too, which is very interesting to hear them talk about it, and to see what their scale models and everything. And so it's just there's a big model community around the original Battlestar series. And I don't know if that's for other fandoms too and everything, but I know especially in Battlestar there's it's just fascinating to just see and hear and see original pictures or original drawings of these things, and how they filmed them, and what people are doing today to kind of recreate some of this stuff. It's just I just love the ships.
It's fun to watch. It is fun to watch. It really is.
I love the picture of, I love the original Battlestar for looks more than the new one, just because of all those little nooks and crannies and all the little whatever you called it there.
Please.
It feels like it has more character. But of course, the newer one is more practical. It's got it's more armor. It's the the nacelles, whatever, the landing
flight
pad.
pods.
They retract into the ship, and to make it more streamlined and stuff like that. And it's just
Hey, Chris, did you ever mention what made Tanya's jaw drop at the end of the miniseries?
I did not. So we'll finish off this particular section of today's episode with that. In the miniseries, you have 6 before the Cylon attack occurs. She's walking through a plaza, and she comes upon a new mother with a baby in a stroller.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yes.
And so here's 6 being very kind of very alien in how she's approaching this whole situation, but with the knowledge that the attack is coming that day. It's on the way. It's happening, and she knows it. So she's being very calm. She knows that the plan has kindly come to fruition. Everything is falling into place. All these people around her are going to die, right? So she has that outlook, and she comes upon the mother with the baby, and she gets to hold the baby, and she talks about how fragile they are and whatnot. She makes
the curiosity factor.
It's the curiosity factor, really. It's there's not a fatalistic kind of a thing, but there's a very strong curiosity factor, and there's no animosity there. But then she makes the offhand comment about, it's amazing the neck can support all that weight, and then you're like, wait, what? and then here we go. I'm going to say it. I knew it was coming because I'd seen this before on a couple of occasions. I've watched the series a couple times now. So I turned to watch Tanya. And so this whole scene is unfolding, and you don't actually see her do it, but you hear the crick, right? You hear the click and whatnot, and you put the 2 plus 2 together that 6 has killed the baby when the mother wasn't looking. And the shock factor is like, did she just do that? Did she just? And you're like, was she being? You stop and think, oh, she's just drawing first blood. She's just starting the No, she didn't want the baby to suffer. She was doing it a mercy, in her opinion. Right. So that was my opinion on that. That was my take on that. She was like, nope, I don't. So just get that one out of the way now, because I didn't want that poor little fragile thing to suffer. And then she moved on, and you could see the look in her face as she's weeding her way through the crowd, and you hear the mother screaming in the background. You're looking at the expression on 6's face. She was not like, oh, I got one. She was the look on her face was sadness, almost a little bit of horror. Like, wait, she's starting to kind of come to grips with I'm about it. The plan seemed to
We're
make
about
sense.
to wipe out the human race. Yeah.
Yes, we're going to wipe out the human race. This is a great plan. This is a great plan. We're going to do this. This is going to be great. This is the plan.
We're
But then,
wiping out our parents.
yes, and then after that moment, you start seeing Six kind of trying to come to grips with, oh, this is what that means. And that ties into what I was talking about a little earlier ago. Six has this whole arc, right? And so I think this is, if you look at that whole moment, look at the expressions on her face as she's weeding her way through the crowd, you will start seeing the seeds of that arc begin right there. Before she killed the baby, there was a clarity to her plan. There was a clarity to her mission. After that, you start seeing the seed planted of what did I do? What's going on here? What does this really truly mean? And so that kind of I it's just one of those things that tag into my head when I start thinking about that series.
And then you get the whole the whole boomer part of it. Grace Park's character to kind of really cements that with Six there and everything, and that just later on in the series there.
Because here's your spoiler if you haven't seen the show: Boomer's number 2. Where Trisha Helfer plays Six, Boomer is a Cylon. Also, she's the number 2. So there you have it. It's just
you learn that right at the end of the miniseries. So
yeah, you learn it right at the end. Yeah, and then there's an interesting arc because there's multiple Boomers that become kind of main characters in their own way. So you see that really you see a lot of acting chops in this cast.
Yeah.
They're not just filling a role and saying the lines. There's a lot of different tones and methods and character arcs and everything. I mean, even Lee, who is not a Cylon, he has this whole ebb and flow to his story. It's great. Everybody has this ability to show that their character is, no matter who they are, human or Cylon, everybody has a level of humanity within them. So
it looks like Sharon's also referred to as Athena.
Yes.
I haven't gotten to that part yet, but
yeah, they could, because they had the different different
Sharons,
the different twos.
They had the different So they separate them out because they become accepted.
Yes. Well, they also start interacting. There's a couple of them that start interacting with each other for a little while. So instead of them being, well, what two is that? What two is that? One gets a name, the other one gets a name. So they kind of just start shifting off of each other, just so you can keep them straight. Because different twos have different story arcs. So in order to help you keep them straight, whenever you see Grace Park, you have to figure, is she being called Boomer? Is she being called Athena? Is she being called Sharon? Okay, so this is this one. This is this one. All right, that's that one.
She's number 8, not number 2, by the way.
Is she 8? I thought she was 2. Who's number 2 then?
2 is the Leoben Connoy.
Oh, the guy they find on
the
Anchorage.
Yes.
I want to keep wanting to call it Ragnarok Anchorage, but I know it's not. Ragnar Anchorage.
Number 1 is Cavill.
Right, you meet Cavill down the road. Cavill is played by
Superman.
Yeah.
Cavill.
Number 1 is played by the guy who played Al in Quantum Leap.
Oh, Dean Stockwell.
Dean Stockwell, thank you.
I love Quantum Leap.
Yeah, he was.
That's another show we should all take time to watch sometime. So you'll find it's like the first 8, and then because there's a whole thing about the final 5, and you don't find out about them until the very end.
Very end, yeah. So the first 8 about. First.
All right. Well, it gets confusing unless you sit through it.
Number 7 we never actually see.
Oh, that's right. Because they have to have that little dynamic in the background.
Because he was. They boxed him up because known as Daniel, by the way.
Oh.
The Daniel model was artistic and sensitive and had a close relationship with Ellen Ty, which led to murderous fraternal jealousy on the part of the Cavill model. Nothing is known about this model's appearance.
You just never see 7.
7 was they just referred to him sometimes, but he never makes an appearance. He's already gone by the time this is going on.
So there you have it.
12 then, but these 12 have multiple bodies.
Yes, the whole dynamic in the new series is that
they can regenerate. They can. regeneration
clones.
chips.
It's basically they create the body and then the soul gets transferred into the body. It's or the memories, the dynamics of that particular person. 6.7, 6.2, whatever the case may be. So that in essence, they've kind of like tapped the well of immortality in that regard. Like as long as there is a resurrection ship nearby, if a particular humanoid Cylon passes away, then that person's memories and consciousness will go into a new body, and then they just basically pick up and carry on.
Mm-hmm. So the concept of death is different for them.
Yes. Oh yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot there. So if you have not by now watched this series, I would recommend it. Go to and watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on DVD. It's on my hard drive, but I just can't use it on my TV.
We found that out the other day.
Yep. And it's in stores now. Scattered but fun. So yeah, let's wrap that up for now. Take a quick break, and when we come back, we will jump into a question of the week.
No one should feel obligated to join this mission in any way. This is a decision I have made for myself. If it turns out that there are not enough personnel to crew Galactica, I will lead a Raptor assault with anyone who is willing to join me. Let there be no illusions. This is likely to be a one-way trip. So don't volunteer out of sentiment or emotion. There is a line running down this deck. Volunteers, move to the starboard side. Everyone else, to the port. Make your choice.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. How are we? We're having fun? This has been
We're
fun.
having fun. I have to finish this episode so I can go back and continue watching Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, there you go. The
It's like,
series
wait,
that
wow?
made frack part of the national vernacular. I'm just saying, I've used it in real life. That fracking thing. So
Yeah, that's the one thing we didn't talk about is how they try to they snuck in swearing there
without swearing.
Yeah.
Without just using different words, and they use in the original series they use the different terms for time and everything like that, the centons, the yarns.
Yeah, that threw me off.
Yeah,
I always felt it was like pushing it.
Yeah, but I try to make it different, but
yeah.
But
there's a discussion of how to spell frack.
It's F-R-A-K. F-R-A-K. And it's funny, if you ever wondered, well, what's frack supposed to be? Is it
really
one word or another or another or another? But I'm just bringing it up because one of my favorite uses of it is Callie, Nikki Klein's character in the new series. At one point, she's trying to shake the chief out of some troper that he's been in. He's been in a down funk or whatever the case may be, and she starts yelling at him. She calls him a mother fracker, and he snaps out of it. He looks at her like that side eye with a grin on his face, like, really? Seriously, did you just say that to me? And I was laughing my ass off the entire time. So that's a thing. Do we have events we want to talk about? I mean, we're phase 3 at the moment, but there's not a lot going on. I know FLX, we've talked about it last week. FLX has been postponed completely to 2021 at this point. So it didn't even just shove off to August like we originally, it's going to be next year at this stage. Right now we're still holding the light on for
we're still debating. We're trying to see. I want to wait to see what's happening, what the phase 4 guidelines are.
Right.
I kind of want to hear from people, from potential from attendees and probably from vendors too, about what they think.
Fair.
Especially once we do know what the guidelines are. If basically, can we put on a show that people will enjoy is kind of what the end result. I mean, we're coming up to about 3 months away, so the time is getting closer. But do we, based on what the phase 4 is going to be, hopefully we'll be in phase 4 soon, within a couple weeks. Will we be able to put on a show that people can go to and enjoy?
I think also
versus
on the other hand too is we're also, you and I have talked about this, and I think Tanya and I have talked about this, is we're just waiting to see the fallout from phases 1 through 3 so far. And
Yep.
also in the interim, we've also had Memorial Day weekend. We've had the social commentary, the protests that have been going on, everybody getting together in the streets to say their piece and whatnot. So I want to see the fallout of all of these things tied together and basically make a safety check off of it. If
Yeah.
this looks like things are not going the way they should,
If it
then
doesn't, the COVID cases don't balloon up again, then
Yeah.
maybe things will be better, or more chance that we can do something that closer to what we originally had in mind for this show versus something we have to do completely different. We don't want people walking around in bubbles,
right?
Get your bubble at the door, walk around in this, keep your your safety zone around you, type of thing. We'd like to be able to have some interaction and be able to do this. I know other conventions are going on. There's some going on for August. I think Dragon Con still going on in beginning of September. So there are other ones that are still going on, in the next, starting in August, I think. So kind of using those as kind of, as temperature checks too, to see what we can do. So hopefully we'll see. We're not 100%. We're not saying that, but we're trying to use what our best information we have at the time.
Nobody at FC3 has been sitting around going, yeah, well, we'll get around to it. We'll figure it out. No, we're all very actively monitoring and keeping an eye on things. We have discussions on a fairly regular basis, if not daily in some occasions, talking about how things are going to fit together, because we want to make sure that we want to be successful, but we also want you to be safe, right? So we have a moral obligation as well as a business obligation, and so we're talking all about this all the time just to make sure we're making the right decisions on it.
Yes, that's all we got for events. Now, that's about it right now.
That's it. That's the event list. Excuse me. So Billy, you have a question of the week.
Yeah, since we were talking about Battlestar Galactica original versus the reboot, which wasn't a continuation or sequel, it was an out-and-out reboot. What TV show would you like to see rebooted? Not a continuation, a reboot.
And I think we've touched on this in the past, because I know we've all talked about Firefly, right? That's like an automatic one people would always go to, but it brings up viable questions. I mean, Firefly's success was lightning in a bottle. You had excellent writing and excellent actors playing these characters to bringing them to life. So would a reboot capture that same lightning from a different angle, or would it just be trying to re-glorify it? There's lots of pros and cons there.
You never know. It depends on who makes it, because
exactly.
Really, like I said, they get the recent Lost in Space on Netflix there.
I've enjoyed that.
That's I enjoyed it myself.
I mean, the original was good, and this one is, they took it and they went in their own direction, kind of, in some of it. So it's I mean,
plus with Firefly, I'd want an actual continuation, not a reboot.
Yeah,
I'd like
but that would only work if you get the same cast, though.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can get the same cast.
How possible would that be in this day and age, that you'd be able to reunite the entire cast for a TV? I mean, for a movie, I can see a one-off.
Well, they did the Serenity movie. So.
Right, exactly. But for a brand new TV series with the entire original cast intact, I don't know if that's possible.
That'd be hard.
They did it recently with, was it Grace Under? No, Will and Grace.
Will and Grace, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there've been a couple, but
4 people, and none of those 4 were particularly busy when that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got 7, and one of them has since passed away with Firefly. They would have to make I mean, obviously in the movie they killed off Shepard Book, so that kind of in a hindsight way works out. But we'll always miss Ron Glass nonetheless.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's come up with some legitimate answers, though. Dan, do you have a show that you would like to see rebooted?
Well, I mean, it's kind of almost very similar to a Battlestar. I'd like to see Buck Rogers.
Oh, very cool. Yeah,
it's kind of the same model makers too, because if you look at early designs, like the original Viper was going to be more like Buck Rogers' ship.
Yeah.
And they said they used the design for the Buck Rogers stuff. But I love that. And again, it's the same time frame, but I love watching that show too.
Same special effects, same kind of rhythm
Mhm.
to the space scenes, the
And I'd
the
be
sound
very
effects.
curious what they could do now with it. Kind
Mhm.
of keep to redo it, not continue it to redo it from the beginning. What
Could
they would
you?
do
I
with
mean,
it.
I'm always big as a writer myself, and we talked about it throughout the Battlestar Galactica chat earlier. Think of the social commentary. You have
Mm.
Buck Rogers, say he's an astronaut from 2021, right?
Mm-hmm.
And something happens, and he gets zapped all the way to the 25th century, and you look back at society and how much it's changed or how much it hasn't changed, how certain things came and went, some things improved, some things didn't. You could
Mm-hmm.
have a field day with something like that.
Oh yeah, because that's taking place on Earth. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's more not a different galaxy or anything. It's now type of thing,
Hmm.
and in the future. So
Hmm.
that'd be very interesting to see that. If someone try that.
That would be a good one. I like that one. Billy, do you have something in mind?
Actually, it's the answer I was originally going to go with, then changed my mind. I've changed it back. Quantum Leap. Quantum
Uh-huh.
Leap, Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell were great for the 5 seasons.
Yes.
But I think you could do it different now with 2 different guys. And they wrote the original show wrote itself into a corner in the last episode with the final line, and Sam never made it home.
Right.
Well, that way the end. He's not going to make it home no matter what happens. You
Yeah,
need
because
to
they use the word
redo.
never.
Yeah, you need to redo the show to give the character some hope,
Hmm.
and the viewers. So I say redo it. And I mean, there's plenty more social issues to tackle with a new Sam and a new Al.
And a
Maybe
lot of the
Al.
same ones too,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
same ones, different ones. Maybe this time Al, do gender bending. Sam and Al could be female, Samantha and Alice.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think there's room for a Quantum Leap reboot.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. How about you, Tanya?
I don't know.
It's tough, isn't it?
It is tough because I'm like, you've seen like Twilight Zone get rebooted, you've seen Charmed get rebooted, you've seen 90210 get rebooted, you've seen X-Files get rebooted.
Even one.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Billy.
Even One Day at a Time on Netflix, which I hear is really good.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to it, but I watched the original in the '70s with Bonnie Franklin and Mackenzie Phillips and Valerie Bertinelli. I hear the new Latin one with Rita Moreno is really good, and I haven't
watched a couple
it yet.
episodes of it. It was quite good. It also feels a little hypocritical for us to have this particular conversations because on a couple of occasions we've had the whole Hollywood is out of ideas talk, and we're usually spearheading. And now we're talking about, hey, well, since they're out of ideas, how about
here's some suggestion from us to help you.
Yes.
Actually, as long there is an original movie out there, I want to recommend to you guys before I forget on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, it's free. The Vast of Night is just a charming little science fiction movie made for like the $700,000 movie, just an independent, a cast of like 8 people. And it's like a Twilight Zone episode and just wears its influences on its sleeve. Spielberg, Twilight Zone, and I highly recommend it for you guys.
All right.
I'll add it to my watch list.
Night. I will put it on my list too. Yes, I'm writing it down right now.
I'm adding it to my watch list right now.
So Buck Rogers, Quantum Leap. Go on, Tanya.
So it's kind of difficult to decide or identify if there's anything that should be rebooted, because right now there's at least 31 TV shows that are 31 TV reboots, remakes, and spin-offs that are currently in the works. One being Animaniacs is being rebooted. Frasier's being talked about bringing that back.
Frasier. That'd be cool.
Wow.
Kelsey Grammer for the win.
They're talking about Sister. They're talking about Elf.
There's one for you, Dano.
Whoa, Elf?
Elf. They're
Elf,
talking.
I have an elf sitting on my table right now.
They're talking about designing women. Lizzie McGuire on Disney Plus. Bewitched.
Whoa.
Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Party of 5. Conan the Barbarian on Amazon.
Jeez.
The Jetsons.
Oh my God.
Jetsons. Wow.
Daria and Jody on MTV.
don't know
It's a
that one.
reboot of the 90s show Daria.
Yeah, the MTV cartoon.
I didn't ever watch that.
Yeah, it was fun. Rugrats.
Jeez.
Wow.
Oh, here's one for Billy.
Yes?
Supermarket Sweep.
Ugh, I hate Supermarket Sweep. That's the only game show I don't like. I literally spend at least 3 nights a week watching old game shows on a network called Buzzer. And Supermarket Sweep is the one I never watch.
But it's a reboot. They're going to be rebooting it. So
someone must like it.
Give me Card Sharks and I'm in.
Oh, okay. Card Sharks. I loved Card Sharks.
Oh, can I tell you I like Pressure Luck? Whammies. No whammies.
Oh, yeah,
no
whammies.
Stop. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that they're already in talks or whatever that are like Penny Dreadful City of Angels is a reboot of Penny Dreadful.
Which was not that old of a series.
No, High Fidelity.
Really?
Yeah, they'll remake on that'll be on Hulu.
There's a lot going on. Is any of this inspiring a thought in the back of your head, though? Is there like one series in particular that hasn't been mentioned, or something that's you're thinking about now while we're having this particular question in front of us?
What would you personally like to see, Tanya?
I don't know, because it just seems like even nowadays I'm not necessarily watching anything that I can't like go back and rewatch the originals. Now I would like them to maybe go back and do some JAG. Maybe Judge Advocate General JAG.
I got a kick out of the fact that I found out that NCIS was actually a spin-off of JAG. I did not know that. That blows my mind right there. I will tell you that for nothing.
Because one of the couple of the JAG I can't remember. Bud hops over to NCIS every so often.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never picked up. I was never a bit avid watcher of JAG. So.
Oh, see, I was.
I caught a few episodes here and there, but that was about it.
And I think that's what the reason why that drew me in is because I was starting my college career pre-law. So those are the ones that kind of like pulled me in, like Night Court. Ooh, Night Court would be another one that would be hysterical.
Night Court. Oh,
Night Court was a great show.
It was a great show.
And they'd have to find a new judge, so it would be a reboot because Harry Anderson passed away
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
So yeah, I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, I think those would be a couple.
All right,
and
so that's
you,
a thing.
Christopher.
This is a very difficult one because I've been racking my brain for shows that have not already been rebooted. Like I have my love for Star Trek. Okay. So, and I know that Star Trek CBS All Access on Star Trek, or Star Trek on CBS All Access. Yeah, I can think straight for a day. Has been doing a great job of it. And they've just announced that they're in production on a series for the original Enterprise with Pike, Spock, and Number One all together. So that's going to be cool. I really like Anson Mount's Pike. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm one of the few apparently who liked Star Trek Discovery. I'm looking forward to season 3, and Picard was amazing. So in my opinion, the Star Trek franchise is fairly healthy. They're working on it. Great. Doctor Who reboots itself every 3 or 4 years, so I don't need a reboot for that.
It's got an automatic reboot built in.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And I think that's one of the charms of that show and why it's lasted so long. We've talked about Battlestar Galactica. We've talked about Quantum Leap. We've talked about Firefly. We've talked about all these different shows. So I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I really would want to see this or not, but this is the thought that's popping in my head. Stay with me now. Space, 1999.
Oh, I loved the eagle from that. The ship.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's weird because it was such a disjointed story. And such a weird concept of the spaceship they're flying around on is a freaking moon, right? And there's so many kind of weird physics that involved with it. But the Eagles were always cool. And the characters were interesting, right? So I guess that's the thought that popped into my head. Let's have space, 2099 or something like that. And, and it's with a cameo from like 100-year-old Elon Musk or whatever the case may be. There's probably a story to be had there.
To jump onto that now,
Uh-huh.
Space Above and Beyond.
Okay. All right.
That only got 1 season, and it was
Right.
supposed to be planned for 5.
Okay.
So that was
to
another
see
one.
that being redone again with some more modern sensibilities could be a thing.
That was one that we really liked, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
it was done. We're like,
Mhm.
oh, what happened? So
And there's another title that just popped into my head while I was talking about Space 1999, and I know Billy's going to go, "Oh!" I'm hoping at least, because the I think a great series to have a modern twist on it would be Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Yeah. Yes.
As weird as things are these days, I think that'd be a great series to bring back up. And some people would argue, well, we have Constantine on the CW. I'm not talking that. I'm talking bring the old gritty, kind of PI kind of feel to it. The newspaper reporter,
the supernatural stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think that'd be a great one. So
I love Night Stalker.
And I think we're gonna have to have another talk about Babylon 5 one of these days. So that's a thing. But so that's my answer would be Space 1999 then.
Okay.
That's good. I think that's it. That's our wrap. We're good. We're done. That's a thing.
That's a wrap.
All right. Beautiful. So Dan, hit it. Because this has been FC3's Monkey Business, a product of the Mighty Monkey Corporation, purveyors and producers of the Flower City Comic-Con. Also, other fun products like Comic Chicks and Nerd World News coming at you in stunning Technicolor. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. Do as I always say, follow us wherever we go, and we will lead you to where the entertainment is. You guys have a great week. We have a fun week. Be safe week, and we will talk to you all again next week.
Dun,
dun,
dun.
dun.